Hello, everyone. My name is Sharan Riker. I'm the product manager here at Chef Progress. I'm specifically responsible for Chef compliance as well as cloud security. And today we'll be speaking about some of the exciting things that we have uncovered as part of cloud security. With me, I have Vasundhara and Ashwini, who both have been an integral part of Chef engineering team. Vasundhara and Ashwini, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sharan. Hello, everyone. I'm Vasundhara, working with Chef Inspect team as principal engineer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashwini Nehate, and I'm a Chef compliance developer, and I would be doing audit and remediations.
Awesome. So with that, let me take you through a very quick agenda of what we have in store for you today. We'll be doing a very quick recap of Chef Cloud Security launch, something that we did earlier this year. We'll also speak about some of the new interesting things that we have introduced post that. We'll also be doing some great demos, and these capabilities will be demonstrated by Vasundhara and Ashwini. And finally, we'll also go through some of the customer success stories. So earlier this year, we launched Chef CSPM, Chef Cloud Security Solution, and we pretty much entered into Cloud Foray, where we provided the best practices for all major cloud providers, AWS, Azure, as well as GCP. We enabled enterprises to build their own custom policies besides CIS benchmarks using our open source framework called Chef Inspect. Additionally, with Chef Cloud Security, customers would also get the best practices for Kubernetes pods and the Docker based on CIS benchmark. And all of this supported by our strong visibility and governance framework, giving you that multi-cloud reporting, giving you those very easy to read, filterable scan reports with very detailed view on what's going wrong, what is the code that is executing behind the scenes. And eventually, all of this data can also be taken into some of your external third-party tools like Kibana or Grafana through the API integration. So let's cover some of the security use cases that we introduced. So one of the major use case was the privileged account access. And privileged accounts such as admin and root, they carry a lot of elevated privileges. And it's very important to ensure that they're used in a very controlled manner. So with Chef Cloud Security, you can enable checks within your environment to see if there is misuse or overusage of your privileged accounts. We also introduced data exfiltration, which basically is about ensuring that your network as well as your port settings are appropriate. Example for example, you want to detect if port 22 is protected from the outside world. From a cloud perspective, we have seen a humongous usage of cloud storage. So one of the aspects that we also want to address is the aspect of protecting your storage buckets, like for example, your S3 buckets. And that is something that we can do using, ensuring that, you have an encrypted S3 bucket. Finally, suspicious network connections is all about ensuring that we look for an unencrypted communication channel, such as using TSH and so on. So again, from a cloud security perspective, as I mentioned, we provide the CIS best practices for all major cloud providers, AWS, Azure, and GCP, helping enterprises maintain their cloud compliance posture, as well as detecting misconfiguration. Enterprises can also prioritize these misconfigurations so they can really, identify what they want to concentrate on the most. And with these benchmarks, we also cover a broad range of cloud entities. So we kind of range from identity and access management, storage. We also cover logging and a whole bunch of the cloud entities. From a container as well as the Docker perspective, we provide CIS benchmark and best practices, which is an important first step in ensuring your Docker and Kubernetes environments which are used in production are safe and secure. You can also build your own custom policies using our Chef Inspect code. And all of the compliance data that you generate, as I mentioned, it can be downloaded as a CSV or a JSON, or it can also be, in fact, taken into an external entity through our API integration. So specifically, some of the container security use cases that we can uncover would be probably the first one is the securing of Docker host, wherein we want to kind of ensure that we have a controlled privileged access. You would also want to ensure that the host on which the Docker is mounted, it's hardened. And it is also very critical to have your image and build files, as well as the config parameters appropriately set. Control plane within the Kubernetes is also a very critical component, and ensuring that that control plane is secure is also super critical. So this basically means that you would want to validate your cluster configuration and kind of see if it's compliant based on the CIS benchmark for Kubernetes. From an image scanning perspective, scanning the images for kind of vulnerabilities or the configuration, that's also another key aspect that we can uncover. So one of our biggest differentiator has been the fact that we provide a strong visibility and governance framework. We give you that hybrid cloud reporting where we pretty much cover all of your on-prem applications, operating systems, and databases. We cover your cloud environments. We also cover your cloud native world. And with very detailed, easy to read, filterable scan reports, with very detailed view on what's going wrong, what is the code that is playing in the background. All that info is given to you. And also with the historical data, you can actually compare your compliance posture. So you can go back in days, weeks, or even months, and you can look at how your compliance posture is changing. And finally, you can also kind of get to see what is the most important aspect that you would want to focus on. So it kind of also helps you in a very quick issue detection, kind of saving you on the operation cost. So with that, let's look into some of the interesting things that we have introduced as part of Chef Cloud Security. So one of the new features that we have introduced is the aspect where we want to ensure that cloud security scans are accomplished or they are done in parallel. And what we've seen among our customers is that the usage of cloud has been rampantly increasing. We have seen organizations who would like to use their system and who would like to actually scale their particular system, but they also want to perform their audit checks on it at the same time, so they get a consolidated report. Our customers today use millions of cloud resources. In fact, they use thousands of cloud accounts, and they are actually on the expansion path over the next few years. So what we do at Chef is we basically enable customers to execute these multiple checks on their system at the same time. So basically have all of these checks done in parallel. So this also saves them from sequential execution, which is enabling them to get a consolidated real-time or near real-time view of their environment at one go. It also enables them to scale to millions of resources, remediate the problems quickly, and also make investment decisions on terms of what is the most critical issue that they need to focus on. Eventually, all of this boils down to a very faster time to market. Now, at the back end, we have our Chef Inspect command, which was recently introduced, which is called as the Chef Inspect Parallel. And along with the Chef Inspect Parallel command, customers also get a progress indicator, which shows how far they have actually progressed in each of the audit checks or in each of the profiles that they are executing. It's also possible for customers to build this command into a script, as well as use an input file, which lists all the profiles that they want to run. So it's pretty much a developer-friendly feature that you get. And finally, you can also get to execute different parts of your profile in a parallel fashion. You can customize your particular profile and you can run it in a parallel fashion. We have a dedicated session which specifically concentrates on how Inspect Parallel works and how all these things shape up. So please make sure you tune into that session as well for more details. With many of our customers looking at alternate container technologies such as Podman or OpenShift, we have built a set of Podman and OpenShift based resources This helps our customers to build custom profiles for compliance, internal policies, as well as other security checks. These checks can be around containers running in Podman or OpenShift. They can be around network audits, or they can be any checks that customers would want to perform around the pods. It can also be like, for example, checking of the versioning aspects. And once these profiles are run, you can have the output in Chef Automate, which will give you an overall view of the compliance through the dashboard. And you can also download it into a CSV or a JSON format for auditing purpose. So with the introduction of managed Kubernetes, many of our customers are adopting cloud provider managed Kubernetes to simplify their Kubernetes setup and management. So with Chef Cloud Security, it is now possible for you to validate your managed Kubernetes configuration. It can be your Amazon Kubernetes, it can be Azure Kubernetes, or it can be the Google Kubernetes. And also with our policy as code approach, you get to validate, or you get to also change the executed code, as well as review the failures. Vasundhara will be having a very detailed demo on how we help you secure managed Kubernetes, but any thoughts you would want to share, Vasundhara, at this point of time?
Yeah, thank you, Sharan. Yeah, sure. So this is one of the exciting and most asked feature that we added to the cloud security. It enables user to identify any misconfiguration in Kubernetes using different Chef inspect Kubernetes resources. Then we have a train transport also, which will connect to that environment, and then they are able to find out the misconfigurations on that environment. So yeah, this is one of the exciting feature user can try and explore in the cloud security.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that, Vasundhara. So one of the next feature that we have introduced is the ability to have hardened cloud instances. Again, these are basically instances where security configurations have already been set. So basically, using our Chef Premium content, what you can do is you can configure your cloud instances to CIS best practices. And this can be done for a whole bunch of systems, for operating system, for the applications, databases, or any of the systems which is part of your cloud instance. So the end result is that you get these hardened cloud instances, which can be now used securely for your organization. And you basically avoid the need to, go through a manual configuration for these instances. Enterprises also get to meet their share of shared responsibility model. And finally, since CIS benchmarks also map to a lot of strict standards, you get a hardened instances which are also very much STIG ready. Ashwini will be speaking more on how to create hardened cloud instances, but anything you would like to add at this point of time, Ashwini?
Yeah, Sharon. The hardening of cloud instances is one of the Chef's biggest differentiator, with ton of premium content across OS, apps, and DBs, as well as cloud providers. So we are able to give a customer a complete hardened environment that is misconfiguration free across all levels of infrastructure. Yeah, that's all.
Sure. Thanks, Ashwini. So with that, let's go into the demo aspect, and I'd like to hand over to Vasundhara to walk us through a demo on how all these things works in a managed Kubernetes setup. Over to you, Vasundhara.
Yeah. Let me just share the screen. So today I'm going to demo how we can use Chef Cloud Security to protect your container and Kubernetes resources. As Sharan mentioned, like with Chef Cloud Security, you can detect misconfiguration in your container platform such as Docker, Kubernetes, Podman, OpenShift. And towards this, we have built a ton of Chef inspect resources. For example, there are Kubernetes resources which helps to verify the configurations of Kubernetes cluster and its components like nodes, containers, pods, RBAC cluster roles, etc. And this can be used irrespective of whether you are using self-managed Kubernetes or provider-managed Kubernetes, such as EKS, AKS, GKE, or OpenShift. From the Docker and Podman end, we have built resources to verify configuration of containers running inside cloud. To enable you to connect to your cloud environment and run cloud compliance profiles onto it, we have built inspect transports such as Kates transport to connect to Kubernetes cluster, Docker and Podman transport to scan Docker and Podman containers, AWS, Azure, GCP transports to connect to cloud resources. Let's now see how we can verify any misconfigurations on Kubernetes nodes using Chef Cloud Kubernetes resources. So basically, kubelet, kubeproxy, and container are the different components running on the Kubernetes nodes, and we can verify the misconfiguration of these components using Chef Cloud security capabilities. Now, so let's see this in practical. Let me go to my demo screen. Yeah, so I have a Kubernetes cluster running in EKS called VJ demo. Let's get the details of it. Yeah, I have two nodes running inside that cluster, which we can see using the EKS node group command. So I'm just using my cluster name to list that. And as you can see, there are two nodes inside the cluster which are running. I can list them using the kubectl command. So before executing compliance profiles on one of these nodes using Chef Cloud Security Inspect CLI, let's look at the profile that I'm going to use to find the misconfiguration. I have used few of the checks from CIS benchmark for Docker and EKS Kubernetes to create a profile that checks for misconfiguration. I have so this is my profile where I'm checking for ensuring that only trusted users are members of the Docker group. Then auditing Docker and Docker files and Docker directories. Verifying Docker image and Docker containers are running on the node. I'm also ensuring that kubelet config file permissions are restrictive and file ownership is set to root. All these are best practices for your Kates usage based on CIS. Let's now execute the command and scan one of these nodes. I'm going to connect to the node using AWS System Manager Agent, AWS SSM. That way, I don't have to expose the SSH service to the internet. So I will just execute the command to connect to the node and execute the profile which we have seen on it. So I'm just running that particular command. So we have this profile and I'm connecting using AWS SSM to it. Let's wait for some time. Let's see. So there you see with Chef Cloud Security, you can connect to the node running inside EKS cluster using AWS API and validate the checks. We can see there is a one failure from the result due to misconfiguration. I will first connect to the Kubernetes cluster running on EKS. I'm going to use this command and connect to the K8s cluster. Let's now see how we can verify configurations of K8s resources like containers, nodes, pods, etc. using a custom build control. I will first connect to the Kubernetes cluster running on EKS. I'm using inspect shell for this demo. So let's connect using the inspect shell and K8s transport to this environment. Now I'm connected to the cluster. I can now just list out the number of nodes, number of containers which are running on that cluster using the K8s resource, K8s containers, and I can check the names of it using names property. Similarly, we can check the pods running inside of it. So there are number of pods which are running inside of C. So let me now show how you can write custom controls to verify the configuration. So I can write a control using K8s container resource, which verifies if the given container exists under specific pod. So this is the control which checks if the given particular container is running exist on this inside this pod. So I'm just executing this control, and you can see this is successful, one of the successful control as it identifies that particular container inside of it. So that's it. What we showed is how you can secure your K8 configuration and use it safely for your application deployment. With that, let me hand over it to Sharan. Yeah, over to you, Sharan.
Sure. Thanks, Vasundhara. So this was really an exciting demo on how you can protect your Amazon Kubernetes configuration using Chef Cloud Security. With that, let's move on to the next demo around how we can create hardened cloud instances. Again, these are instances where security configurations have already been set, and you can use them directly for your needs. I'll hand it over to Ashwini now.
Sure, Sharon. Thank you. Let me share my screen. So let's see how we can use Chef Cloud Security to harden your cloud instance. So before we get started, let me showcase how easy it is to onboard your cloud instances. I will go to Settings, Node Integration, and we can choose any of the cloud, AWS, Azure, or Google. So I could add my details of AWS account if I want to add it as AWS ChefConf account. I would be choosing service type as EC2 as I would be working on EC2 hardened specific instance. For that, we require AWS access key, its secret key, and if required, a particular region where we have targeted our node. So if I need to select a specific EC2 instance, we can do that using tags, or we can cover all the EC2 instances. So for demo purpose, I'm going to choose any specific EC2 instance. I can associate the EC2 instance with an identifier. So I would be giving name. This would be my EC2 instance. And I would be using its credentials that we could do with help of node credentials from here. So for this, I have taken Windows 2019 EC2 instance having Oracle 19c and Microsoft IIS installed on that system. So let's see how we can scan this EC2 instance and look for its misconfigurations. I have to move to Compliance tab, then choose the relevant profiles for scan. So these are the profiles: Windows 2019, C as Microsoft IaaS 10, and C as Oracle Database 19c. So our Chef Premium content provides you the best practices for a whole bunch of apps, databases, and OSs, which is available in this Available tab under Profile. Then I can go to Scan Job, create a scan job, add a specific instance, I would be choosing all these three profiles as C as Microsoft IaaS 10, C as Microsoft Windows Server 2019, which is OS based, and C as Oracle Database 19c, which is database profile. We can add its name. So I'd be adding it as ChefConf scan job. So this option we can provide. So I can then add a schedule. I can repeat my scan every few hours, days, weeks to months. And let's save it. So you can see like this is our latest scan, which is still running. So to save some time, we will go with our previous older scan, which has been completed here. Let's see the report. I would be choosing these profiles, IaaS 10. I'd be taking as, let's skip few of the failed controls and go to, so this you can see like scan result from here on this one. So your result is, so here for this particular 2.4 control, we need to ensure the form authentication is set to use cookies. But we can see like it's been, it has used device profile and not use cookies, and hence it got failed. And from here, we can see the source code, how it's been written with help of inspect resources. So for demo purpose, I'm going to consider that I can leave some of these misconfigurations. Basically, it's acceptable for my organization to have this. Even we can download this report in JSON and CSV format and can use it for audit purpose. Chef Automate also gives you APIs so you can export it external system like Grafana, Kibana, and others. Let me take you to our setting page, data feeds, new integration. And here you can see the integration with external system, Snow, ELK, Splunk, etc. So let's go back to our AWS Explorer. So this instance can be considered as a gold image for an organization, which essentially can be used to create our cloud instances. To create this image out of this instance, I will right-click it, go to image and template, and create image. Let's fill up its detail. I would prefer to have a default settings and create image. We can see these images under AMIs. We can see like ChefConf hardened image. So this is our gold image for our organization, and any instance that I can create from this can be a hardened system that can be used. So basically, through Chef Cloud Security, we demonstrate how we can create such hardened cloud instance and use them without security concern. So that's all from my end, Sharon. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Ashwini, for a great demo on how we can create hardened cloud instances. So let's also look at all of this from a customer perspective. Our customers have not only been able to use Chef to scan multi-cloud environments such as AWS, Azure, or GCP, but they've also been able to do it at a very high scale. Our customer have used almost around 11K cloud accounts and 8 million cloud resources. And using Chef, they have also been able to have a single framework to define all of their CI/CD pipelines. One of our customer providing services to US Fed could also do compliance checks for Kubernetes and Docker, since Chef was the only tool that could really perform the automated scan, something which other products in the market could only achieve through a manual labor. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the session today. Again, if you're looking for more resources or more details around Chef Cloud Security and some of the exciting features that we have launched, please do visit our product and solution pages. Also, we have put together a ton of resources, which includes data sheets, blogs, case studies, as well as there are specific documentation around how we address Docker as well as the Kubernetes environments. Hopefully this session was useful to you and it gave you insights into all the wonderful things which is happening around cloud security. Thank you once again.